Okay, guys, so let's get started. The others would be joining shortly. Now, again, before we do so, a quick formal introduction on my end. My name is Mohammed Shoaib. I will be your cybersecurity trainer for this course. And the course is called Certified Ethical Hacking V13, specifically created for people who are planning to shift or start their careers in cybersecurity. Now, I've been in the same domain of cybersecurity for the last 7 years, been currently working as a senior penetration tester, and I've been training students for the last 5 years or so, and at least 4 years from DURGASOFT itself, like, out of those 5 years. And again, this course is all about you learning what cybersecurity is, what hacking is, what ethical hacking is. What would your day-to-day activity be as a penetration tester, a network penetration tester, or a web application penetration tester? This covers everything from scratch, understanding the most basic concepts of what hacking or ethical hacking or the tools are, to the most advanced concepts of reporting and performing vulnerability assessment and pen testing also. Okay. So again, this is designed specifically for people who have no clue on what hacking is. So you don't have to worry about any prerequisites. All the prerequisites are included in the course itself. Okay. So again, you would definitely need some knowledge on networking and Linux commands and virtualization before you start cybersecurity. But in our course here at the DurgaSoft, we have included that in the course itself. Actually, I was supposed to take a class on networking today, on networking fundamentals actually, but since everyone is new, I'm going to retake the same demo, which I took on Sunday again. Okay. So we'll keep this networking class for tomorrow. We're going to take a demo today on what the course is about and what tools and topics we'll be covering throughout the course. Okay. Before we begin, any questions or doubts or queries to clarify? Does anyone have any queries related to cybersecurity or so before we get started? Okay. Assuming there's no questions, let's get started without any further ado. Okay, right. So when you talk about this course, Certified Ethical Hacking, let's clarify the definitions of what hacking is and what ethical hacking is, and what is the organization which has created this course. What is EC Council? So if you notice on the screen, you can see this word called EC Council as well on the top right corner. So I'm going to explain all that. Okay, so let's clarify on the definitions of what hacking and ethical hacking are first, because a lot of students have a misconception that hacking and ethical hacking are one and the same. They can be used interchangeably. That is quite wrong. To define hacking, this is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. So, as cyber criminals, people who perform malicious activities, their main agenda is to get access to your devices. Now, these devices could be anything. They could be as small as a mobile phone to as big as a web application server or a database or whatever it be. Okay, or the cloud environment itself. Okay, so hacking is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems without the permission and without the knowledge of the person or the organization owning your system. So if I'm hacking your phone or your computer, it means you have no clue that this hacking activity is happening in the background. You would have no knowledge of it, and this will be done without your permission as well. Okay. And once I've gotten access to your devices, what I can do is definitely very dangerous for the end user. I can steal your data, I can destroy your data, I can sell your data to other people over the internet or over the dark web. Okay. And sometimes hackers are so mischievous, they can even do it just for fun without any financial benefit as well. Okay. So from this definition, you can definitely understand hacking is something which is very malicious, which is definitely against the law. Okay. Now, if hacking is such a malicious activity, why do we have a course called ethical hacking? How is it getting ethical in the first place? Because we know hacking is about all about gaining access to other systems and their data without the permission. So how is this getting ethical in the first place? So to define ethical hacking, on the other hand, this is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. This terminology called vulnerability is something that you'll keep coming across multiple times during the entire duration of the course. Okay. So to define a vulnerability, it's a loophole, it's a flaw or a weakness in the application's logic or a misconfiguration in the device. And these vulnerabilities allow attackers to perform hacking in the first place. So your job in ethical hacking is to find these vulnerabilities or these loopholes in the information systems. And this is done with the consent and with the knowledge of the organization. So you're working hand in hand with the organization, you're finding the vulnerabilities in their devices or in their applications, okay, and you're reporting it back to the company. Once those vulnerabilities are reported back, the company knows, okay, these are the loopholes which are leading to the cyber threats, and we have to remediate them. We have to patch them up. So they'll apply the necessary security updates or the necessary security patches, and they will completely eradicate those vulnerabilities. Once that is done, you're closing all the doorways or the pathways for the hacker to cause any further harm. So in ethical hacking, you're finding the vulnerabilities before the hackers do. You're reporting it back to the organization, they're remediating it, and you're preventing any further cyber threats from occurring. Okay, that's what ethical hacking is. Okay, and we as penetration testers or ethical hackers what keeping basically who are keeping the organizations secure from the cyber threats. Okay, that's what we do as cyber professionals. Okay, now depending on these two definitions, we can categorize the types of hackers as well. So there's three broad categories: white hat hackers, gray hat hackers, and black hat hackers. You might have heard about them already. To define them again, your black hat hackers are typical cyber criminals who perform hacking for their own benefit or for fun without asking for consent. They are basically the cyber criminals who get access to your data without your consent. On the other end of the spectrum, we have someone known as a white hat hacker. White hat hackers are cyber professionals who abide by the laws and policies of the company, and they work for securing the organization's infrastructure. Okay, so we as penetration testers or ethical hackers work for securing the company's data from the cyber criminals. And in between, there's a third mysterious category as well called gray hat hackers. Now, these are people who have qualities of both hackers as well as ethical hackers. So, like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission first, okay, when they find a vulnerability. But once they find the vulnerability, they don't misuse it either. They report it back to the company, like a white hat hacker. But there's a minor catch here. They don't do this for free, definitely. When you're good at something, you don't do it for free, right? So, what they do it is in return for a bounty, a financial reward. So they are expecting a reward in return for reporting that vulnerability rather than misusing it. Okay. So they're working both offensively and defensively at various times. Hence, they're called as gray hat hackers. Okay. A mixture of both. Some people also refer to them as bug bounty hunters, hunting for bugs in return for a bounty, a financial reward. Okay. And no matter what category of a hacker you take here, black hat hackers, gray hat hackers, or white hat hackers, they're professionals who perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. Okay, and that procedure is called as cyber kill chain. Okay. Some organizations also refer to this as the hacking cycle, and this was invented by the US military. Okay, in the late 1950s or so, I would say it's been there since very long, and it has been over the years. It has been modified according to that year's or to that era's latest cyber threats. So this has been a constantly changing circle, but five steps have always remained the same. Okay, in those five steps, the tools and techniques might have changed, but they still follow the same exact five steps involved in it. Okay. To define it, this is the procedure that hackers follow in order to perform a successful cyber attack. Okay. So the probability or the success ratio of the attack being possible is very high when this procedure is properly followed. Okay. It's a very much possible that the attack will successfully occur. And the same procedure also allows cyber security professionals or ethical hackers to understand how these attacks are being performed, to detect these attacks at the earliest time possible, and to prevent them at every level in the organization. So, unless and until you know how the attacks are being made possible, you would not know how to prevent those attacks as well. Okay, unless and until you understand the logic of the attack, the structure of how this attack is being carried forward, you would not know how to prevent it and what security measures to apply. Okay. So the procedure to hack the systems or secure the systems is very similar. Okay. And this contains five important stages in it. First stage is called as information gathering. Second stage is called as scanning. Third step is called as gaining access. Fourth step is called as maintaining access. And the fifth stage is called as reporting or clearing traces. If you clearly observe, only the last step has two different terminologies: reporting or clearing traces. Because that is where it makes all the difference between a hacker and a cyber professional. Okay, that is where you again the paths will diverge. Okay, so I'm going to explain each of these steps now one by one and what tools we're going to use in these steps as well. So you have a better idea about the entire course now. Okay. So before we do so, any questions or doubts up to the slide? Am I going too fast by any chance? Do you want me to slow down a bit?
Yes, sir. Please, little bit, if you
Oh,
would.
so sorry about that. Definitely, we'll go a bit slower. Otherwise, other than that, any questions or so up to this point? Do you want me to repeat anything from the previous slides, guys? Ashok, Shravani, Nagaraj, Nupur.
Not for me. It is fine, sir. Thank you.
Others, Ashok, Nagaraj, Shravani. Any questions or doubts up to this point?
No, sir.
Right. Moving forward, so let's talk about each of these phases one by one so you have a better idea about this entire course and the curriculum and the tools we're going to work on. Okay. And again, please trust me, all of these tools which I'm going to show you in this class today or in the upcoming sessions when we work on them, these are the same exact tools which I work on in my organization, the same real-time tools. Okay. So no theory nonsense. Okay. All of this is practical hands-on, again, topics and conversations. Again, basically, all this is real-time experience, which I have over the years learned and converted into a course to show you. Okay, so first things first, let's dive into this topic called information gathering, the first stage in the hacking cycle. Now, when you talk about information gathering, this is also commonly known as reconnaissance or footprinting. So these are other terminologies or the names given to the same technique or the same objective. Okay. And the main process over here is to gather as much information or as much data as possible about your target organization. Okay. And an important point to note here is all of this information is gathered passively. What I mean by passively is you do not contact the organization in any way. You don't let them know that you're getting information about them. All of this data is obtained from third-party sources, from various websites on the internet. Okay. So the first, as mentioned, the first step here is you researching, is you trying to get as much information as you can find about the target organization. And all of this data is obtained from the internet itself. But the main question is, what kind of data are we searching? What data do we need to gather here in this phase? And this here is the information as follows. So as a penetration tester or even as a cyber criminal, these are the pieces of information that you would try to research first. And the more information you can find, the more possibilities or the more attack vectors you can find. It gets easier for you to attack the organization in the upcoming stages. Okay. So you need to find information such as IP addresses, network blocks, which are the group of IPs given to that organization, whose records, DNS records, domains and subdomains of the organization, operating system information, what OS are they using on their servers or in their internal organization, on the client employee desktops, what operating system are they using? Are they using Windows operating systems or Linux operating systems? Employee details, contact numbers of the employees, email addresses of the employees, usernames and passwords of those employees, which might have been leaked online in data breaches, okay, and a lot more information. And believe it or not, all of this information is readily available on the internet. The only thing is you need to know what those websites are from where you can obtain this data. Okay. And the more information you gather, the more easier it gets to attack the organization in the upcoming stages. Okay. If I show you a practical example for this, let's say if I wanted to get the DNS records for a company, okay, DNS records are nothing but information regarding their various domains or their various servers and their corresponding IP addresses. Now, I know some of these pieces of information might sound a bit gibberish today, but don't worry, as we progress with our classes, I'm going to explain everything in depth. Okay, what are IP addresses? What are whose records? What are DNS records? Okay, I'll explain everything in detail from scratch. Okay. For now, if you want to know what a DNS record is, basically every web server on the internet has a host name to it, okay, and an IP address, a numerical address as well. So that linking between those domain names or host names and their IP addresses is called a DNS record. And if you want the DNS records for any company in the world, you just have to go to your browser and search for a website called DNS Dumpster, a very popular website in the cybersecurity circles. If you search for DNS Dumpster, click on the first link here. Now you can enter a domain name of your choice. Let's say if we search for a company like Tesla.com. So I can search for Tesla here. And this now starts providing me the DNS records for Tesla. Where are Tesla's servers located geographically? Scroll down much further, and these are all the websites of Tesla. Their different domains and subdomains. Okay. And these exact websites or these domains are hosted on physical servers, and those servers have these IP addresses. So these IP addresses are very crucial for a cyber criminal or for a hacker as well. Okay, because on these IPs itself, they'll launch the attacks of scanning and gaining access. Okay, so your DNS dumpster collects this information from various servers on the internet and puts it in one single place. Okay, so these are all the web servers of Tesla. Scroll down. This is the mail server for Tesla. Tesla is using Outlook for their mails, and this is the exact IP of the server through which all the mails for Tesla are being routed across. These are the DNS servers of Tesla. Don't worry, I'm going to explain what each of these servers are and what these IP addresses are in the upcoming sessions. Okay, but the main important takeaway is all of these IPs are very crucial for a hacker, because on these IPs itself, he'll perform the cyber attacks or cyber threats. Okay, then you might have a very common question: why is this information being so openly displayed? Okay, and is this illegal in some way? No, this is not illegal in any way. This information is given out by Tesla itself so that we can connect to their services. Okay. Unless and until this information is public, we cannot access the services of Tesla or any organization for that matter. Okay. It's like you can't hide your house from the street. Okay. So your house is visible to every passerby. It's not like you can cover it and keep it anonymous to anybody. Okay. For people to know where you are located, you need to give out your address to everyone in the world. Okay, or at least the people who you want them visiting your place. Okay, it's not like you can hide your identity. But the thing is, your house needs to be secure so that when you're at the house or when you're not at the house, no one can access it without your permission. That is where cybersecurity comes into play. These IP addresses, these domains are always visible to every person on the internet. The only thing is, these websites, even though these IP addresses are visible, they should not have any flaws or vulnerabilities to attack on. Okay, that's what a cyber professional would check. Okay, how these how these domains or how these IP addresses are secure or not. Okay, so this information is given out by Tesla itself. This is all publicly available information. The only thing is this is scattered across various servers on the internet. Okay, and what DNS dumpster does is it collects all that data and puts it in one single place. It segregates it and puts it in one single place according to the organization. Okay. So you can search for any domain here, tesla.com, wipro.com, oh, sorry, wipro.com, okay, infosys.com, again, whatever it be, deloitte.com or whatever. Every single server, every single organization servers and their IP addresses are displayed here. Okay, so this is what DNS dumpster does. Similarly, there are other websites as well, which will give you all the other pieces of information, which is shown over here. Okay. So that's what information gathering is, trying to obtain as much information as possible about your target organization from various resources on the internet. That's what it practically means. Okay. Any questions or doubts on this slide here? Anyone? Before we move on to the next stage. Ashok, Shravani, Nagaraj, Nupur, Vibin.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir.
Moving on. So once all of this
No,
data
sir.
has been obtained, that information now is utilized in the next phase. Okay. So that is where comes scanning. This is also commonly known as enumeration. So that's the other name given for scanning. Okay. And the objective here is to get some extra information on the target, but by making active and aggressive connections. So earlier we got the data passively. Okay, here we get the data actively. What I mean by actively is whatever IP addresses you obtain, whatever domains you have obtained, whatever subdomains you have obtained, whatever email addresses you have obtained, on all of those devices or on all of those contact points, you now initiate direct connections. Okay, you try contacting those servers or you try contacting those employees and we try to find more vulnerabilities. Okay, so to understand scanning in a much better way, we can divide it in three parts. There's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. Network scanning is where you're trying to figure out in the organization what devices exist. So in an internal organization, in an office, you might have a lot of different types of devices. You have your client operating system desktops, okay, desktops which run operating systems like Windows 11 or Linux, etc., etc. Okay. Then you have servers, okay, Windows servers, Windows Server 2000, 16 or Windows Server 2012 or whatever it be. Okay, or Linux servers, web servers, FTP servers, DNS servers, DHCP servers. Then there are security devices. You have devices like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. Okay, and then you have again routers or switches. Okay, so basically in an organization you have all sorts of devices. Okay, so network scanning is basically figuring out in that network how many devices exist, what category of devices exist, and what device is getting what exact IP address. Okay, so that is what network scanning is, getting the internal network topology of that organization. Okay, that's what network scanning is. Once you know what devices exist, on those devices you perform something called port scanning. So every device has a lot of ports on it. These are called as logical ports. And on these logical ports, you have multiple services or multiple applications running. Okay. So port scanning is where you try to figure out on that device what ports are open and what services are running. And once you know what ports are open and what services are running, finally you perform something called vulnerability scanning, figuring out any of those services is misconfigured or if any of these applications has a vulnerability to attack on. Okay. So it's a step-by-step procedure. You're finding what devices are available in that network. On those devices, you're figuring out what ports are open, what services are running. And on those services or applications, you're looking for loopholes to attack on. During this phase, we'll be working on two very, very important tools. One is called Nmap. This tool called Nmap, it stands for Network Mapper. It's been there since 1997. Okay, I think it's almost 20, how many? Almost 28 years or 27 years, I suppose. Okay, it's been there since that long. Okay, and it's still used in every single organization. Okay, even the latest commercial applications also use Nmap in their source code because Nmap is completely open source. Okay, its source code is available for free. So this is one of the best tools available on the market for performing network and port scanning. We use the same tool in our organization as well. Okay, and for vulnerability scanning, there's another tool called Tenable Nessus. Now, this is not open source in any way. It's quite an expensive tool, actually. I think you might have heard about it in your organizations. So again, if you scroll down, you can check the price as well. It's around $7,500. And that only for 1 year subscription again. The company needs to pay that amount every single year to run this tool. Okay. And this is a very comprehensive tool which will generate a report and tell you in your organization which system or which device contains what vulnerabilities. If I have to show you this practically, I have this tool on my device actually here. So one second, let me log in. So this is what the tool looks like actually. Okay, so it can perform all these different types of scans: a network scan, a vulnerability scan, whatnot, a malware scan, etc., etc. And once a scan is run, it tells you in your organization whatever devices exist. On those devices, what kind of vulnerabilities exist. Okay, and the vulnerabilities are categorized at different levels: information-based vulnerabilities, low, medium, high, and critical. Okay, so in your organization, critical, high, and medium vulnerabilities should never exist. If they do, it means the network is highly vulnerable and there are a lot of cyber threats possible. Okay, so this tool is capable of telling you in your organization which system contains what kind of vulnerabilities and how impactful or how critical they are. Okay, and once that report is generated, then pen testers or cybersecurity professionals verify this report. They perform manual assessment. Are these vulnerabilities truly existing or are they false positives? If they are existing, what kind of impact can they create? And how do you remediate those vulnerabilities? That's what we work as a pen tester. Okay. So this is what we do in scanning, guys. It gives you a comprehensive information on what devices exist, on those devices, what services are running, and which of those services are vulnerable to an attack. Once you know what vulnerabilities exist, next thing is nothing but attacking on those. So gaining access phase is the phase where the real hacking occurs. Okay. So attackers now use the vulnerabilities found in the earlier stages, and now they try to attack a certain application or a certain system or the entire network of the organization. Okay. So this is the core of the subject, guys. Okay. Now, if this is still a bit unclear or if you've joined a bit late, okay, let me give you a very simple example or an analogy to understand these stages. Okay, so the first stage is information gathering. Okay, to understand this in the format of an example, let's take the example of a bank robbery. If I were a bank robber, the first thing I would do is I would observe the bank externally. Okay. I would observe when the bank is opening up, when the bank is closing, how many security guards are placed outside the bank, how many security cameras are placed, and at what angles they are placed. Okay. And what day of the week is the money van coming in? Okay. When are they bringing the money in? When is the money going out? Okay. So this is just me observing the bank externally without contacting the bank. Okay. In any way. So the bank has no clue that I'm observing all this data. That is information gathering. But this information is not sufficient for me. I need to know the internal infrastructure as well. So for that, I need to make contact with the bank. I need to enter the bank once to understand their internal infrastructure. That is me making an active connection, which is scanning. So once I enter inside the bank, I get a lot more information as well. How many security guards are placed inside the bank? How many floors are there in the bank? Is there a basement as well, which was not visible externally? Okay. And how many security cams are placed inside the bank? Do they have any extra security measures, metal detectors, etc., etc.? Okay, so that is me getting their internal infrastructure also. Okay, so once I have all the external information and internal information, next thing is selecting a certain date and then robbing the bank. Okay, that is your gaining access phase. Okay, so this is the core of the subject, covers a vast variety of topics. Okay, let me explain each of these one by one. Okay. Oh yeah, before that, any questions or doubts? Please do not hesitate to let me know your questions, guys. Again, the more questions you ask, the better, I would say. Okay. Ashok, any questions? Shravani, any questions? Nagaraj, any questions? Nupur, any questions? Vibin, any questions?
No, sir, not as of now. Thank you.
Right. Others?
No, thank you.
No, sir. Thank you.
Right. Anyone who has joined late and who was a bit out of context? Here. Vibin, Shravani.
Hi, I have one question to check whether this Tenable what you showed is there any free version available for that?
Yeah, there's a trial
Community
version as
version?
well. Definitely, there's a trial version as well, Ashok. We'll be working on the trial itself so that you know how to run the tool, how to install it, how to perform vulnerability scanning, how to get a report out of it. I'm going to show you how to install.
Okay.
There is definitely a trial version.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. So most of the tools we'll be covering here. Some of them are commercial tools. Like again, if there's no trial version, I'll provide the cracked version as well. Don't worry about that. Again, most of them are open source itself. Okay, whichever are commercial, we have trial versions. If there is no trial version, I'll provide the cracked version, which is completely safe to understand at least how to run the tool. So all the tools will be provided in the course. Okay. And again, same exact tools which I use in my organization, which I used in every organization in real time. Yeah, I hope I've clarified all questions. Now moving on to the gaining access module. So as mentioned, this is where you basically attack every single endpoint, guys. So the first attack we have here is system hacking. Now, again, every organization has multiple devices and Windows-based devices or Linux-based devices. Now, if you're logged out of your own system, how do you get access back to your device is what we learn in system hacking. How do you crack or bypass the password of any operating system device, Windows or Linux? Okay. Whether it be Windows 7, Windows 8.1, Windows 10, Windows 11, irrespective of the version, we learn how do you crack the password for that system. Or if you're unable to crack it, if it is too tough to crack, how do you bypass it without even entering the password? How do you get access back to your data? Is what we learn in system hacking. Then comes malware attacks. Malwares are malicious softwares, and there are tons and tons of categories of malwares: viruses, worms, trojans, spyware, rootkit, whatnot. We'll practically learn how to create viruses, sorry, how to create malwares, okay, how to defend your system from these different category of malwares, and how do you detect them if they are already installed without your knowledge? How do you scan your system and detect those as well? Okay. And again, not just your basic antivirus scans, there are much more in-depth techniques to perform malware scans. We'll learn those in-depth methods which are used in organizations. Then there's a bonus concept called malwares advanced. This is where if you want to learn, you can learn how to write malwares, but this will involve some amount of coding, guys. So this is only a bonus concept. If you want, you can completely ignore this as well. Okay, this is only a concept for people who are already from a development background. Okay, and as mentioned, only a bonus concept, not a part of the curriculum. If you are interested in coding, if you want to learn how to write malware from scratch, this is a part included as a resource. Okay. Then comes network penetration testing. This is where we learn what are the different network attacks: sniffing attacks, man in the middle attacks, denial of service attack, hacking Wi-Fi routers, cracking the password for Wi-Fi routers. Now, I know a lot of these terminologies are a bit gibberish. Okay? You don't understand what they mean. But basically, these are the commonly known attacks in organizations in cybersecurity. Sniffing is where you can capture others' data in a network, usernames, passwords, okay, credential information. All that can be captured through sniffing in a network. Man in the middle is where you can basically act as a router in the network and capture everyone's data. Okay, whatever data they are sending to the internet or to and fro, you can act as a router in the network and capture their data. Denial of service is where you can shut down remote servers. You can overload a website with huge amounts of traffic and make it crash and make it inaccessible for other clients. Okay, so these are the commonly known attacks in a network. We'll practically learn how these attacks are being performed in real time and what are the security measures that are supposed to be followed in organizations to prevent these attacks from happening in their networks. Okay. Then comes hacking Wi-Fi routers. How do hackers crack Wi-Fi passwords and get access to their device, again, their networks without their permission? Then there's social engineering. Again, every website in this world can be replicated. You can create an exact replica of any website, whether it be a social media page, whether it be a bank login page, whether it be your employee login page, your organization's employee login page. Hackers can create exact replicas. They can send those to the victims and fool them into entering credentials. So when employees or when customers enter their credentials there, they go to the hacker. So these are called as social engineering attacks. In these attacks, the hackers target the weakest link, which is human mindset. Okay. So we'll practically learn how do hackers, again, basically trick users into giving out their credentials. Okay. Then there's hacking web servers or web applications. Every organization has the face on their internet, which is their website. Okay. And these websites or web applications sometimes have vulnerabilities on them. Vulnerabilities like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, broken authentication, file upload vulnerability, etc., etc. So these vulnerabilities allow hackers to get access to their databases, internal databases. They allow them to inject scripts on the websites and access others' sessions. They allow them to capture others' cookies and log into their accounts. Okay. They allow attackers to upload malicious files to server and get remote connections to the server. All these are commonly known attacks on websites or web applications. If I show you a simple example, a practical example for this, I can go to my browser. The other day, I did find some vulnerabilities in some websites. Okay, this is down. I reported it to them the other day, so they must have they are trying to rectify it, I suppose. Oh, okay, this is working. So this is a live website, actually, starconcord.com, a Taiwanese website. Actually, the other day I found a vulnerability in their login page. So this is an admin login page, if you notice. Now, this login page is internally connected to database, okay, and it will verify the credentials from there and give me access if the credentials are right. But what hackers can do is, without even knowing the credentials, they can inject malicious SQL queries, something like this one. It's ASP, so hyphen hyphen. Okay. And now I can copy that and paste it in the password field as well. And if I click on enter, carefully observe what happens. I'm logged in as admin. That should not have happened. I did not know the credential for the admin account. I did not know the password for the admin account. But just by entering this malicious SQL query, I got access to the admin account here. Okay, and you can see the date. It's 24th of September 2025. This is the server's IP address located in Australia. And I've got complete admin access. Okay, and I can access their profile, the contact information, their logistics data, whatnot. Okay, so that should not have happened. Okay, if that is happening, it means the page is vulnerable to SQL injections. So SQL injection is where hackers can inject malicious SQL queries and perform unwanted actions. Okay, logging in as others' accounts, getting access to the database, modifying the contents in the database. All of that is possible through these attacks. Okay, so this is one sort of a simplest format of attack that I could show in today's class in the trial. Sorry, in the demo class today. There are much more complex attacks. We'll cover those as well in the upcoming sessions. Okay, just trying to explain what web application vulnerabilities look like. Okay, and what effect do they create in the organization. Okay, then comes the next attack, which is evading techniques. So if an organization has security measures, firewalls, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, just having those devices is not sufficient. Configuring them right is what matters the most. If they're not configured properly, you can easily bypass those security measures. So if reading techniques are where we'll learn what those bypassing techniques are. If the firewalls, if these security measures are not configured right, how do we bypass them? Okay, and what are the correct configurations to apply? Okay. Then comes vulnerability assessment, where we practically learn how to verify every vulnerability. So in the Nessus report, we get a list of vulnerabilities, right? So we have to verify each and every vulnerability. We have to verify if it is working or if it is just a false positive. So that is called as vulnerability assessment. Okay. And then finally comes hacking mobile phones, where we learn how to attack an Android phone and get remote connections to it. From the EC Council organization, iPhone hacking is not included in this, but as a bonus concept, I'm going to include the tools that are used for performing iPhone hacking as well. Okay. So the main objective of this module here is to learn how to attack every single endpoint. We talk about system security, network security, wireless security, web server security, web application security, firewall security, mobile phone security. As a pen tester, your job in the organization is to know how to secure every single endpoint. And that's the main objective here. Okay. So these are only the most important topics, the core topics. There's a lot more content actually. Again, I could not include here in the presentation. Okay, but you'll get the entire course content from the organization. Don't worry. So again, this is the main objective of gaining access module. Once this is done, then we have the next module, which is maintaining access. Okay. So once I've attacked your system, the next thing I need to do is maintain a persistent connection to your system. Let's say if I've hacked your phone or your computer, even if you restart your device, I should still be connected to you. Okay, so that is what is maintaining access. Because mostly when a system is rebooted, all the connections are reset. Okay, so what hackers try to do is they try to modify your registry settings so that your automatic system, your system can automatically generate connections back to the hacker. Okay, so they'll run some auto run services as such. Okay, so that is what is maintaining access. And once that has been obtained, then we have the last phase called as reporting or clearing traces. So as an ethical hacker, as a cybersecurity professional, you will generate a report for the organization. So you'll elaborate all the vulnerabilities. You'll include all the POCs. POCs are proof of concepts. So you'll exactly tell the organization what steps you've followed, and through those steps, what vulnerabilities were found and how they're affecting the organization. And along with that, you'll also provide the solutions to remove or eradicate those vulnerabilities. On the other hand, if you're a cyber criminal, a black hat hacker, you won't definitely report anything. You'll perform all the actions and then you remove the evidence of your actions. You delete the footprints, you delete the logs on the target, erase your evidence of actions, and hide your identity. So you're completely untraceable. So this course is going to run in two simultaneous tracks. One, we'll learn something called red team hacking, where we learn the offensive attacks possible in the organization as a cyber criminal. Then the blue team defense. As a cyber professional, how are these attacks being performed? What are the vulnerabilities leading to these attacks? And how do you prevent those attacks as well? What are the security measures to apply? That's the main agenda for this course. Okay. And during this entire course, we're going to work on very important tools. I think I've mentioned a few of them. There's a few more. So tools like Wireshark, tools like Burp Suite, okay, tools like Metasploit framework, okay, and more importantly, an operating system called Kali OS. Okay, so kali.org. This is a Linux-based operating system. We'll be working extensively on this a lot in the upcoming sessions. This is what it looks like actually. I have Kali already installed on my system. Again, this contains a lot of tools pre-installed in it for various operations, as you can notice. So I'll practically be working on this tool a lot. Okay. If I have to divide and give you a ratio, this course is in the format of 80-20 ratio, I would say. It's 20% theoretical, and the remaining 80% is all practical itself, with the same hands-on real-time tools which I use in my organization. Okay, and the same industry standard tools everywhere. No matter what job description you look for as a penetration tester, these are the same tools they expect you to have knowledge on. Okay, and this entire course is created by an organization called EC Council. It's a globally recognized organization based in United States. Actually, you can search for EC Council. This is the organization, and the course that we are learning right now is called Certified Ethical Hacking. The latest version running right now is version 13. Okay, V13. Okay, and we're following the same exact curriculum provided by this organization. And once this course is done, you can start applying for all of these job roles. especially penetration tester, okay? Pen tester, ethical hacker, infosec administrator, network security engineer, okay, security consultant. These are all the jobs that you can start looking for once this course is successfully done. And once you're, again, applying practical hands-on knowledge on the same tools, which I show you as. Okay. So that's a brief demo on what the course is about, what topics we'll be learning for the course. The course is for a duration of 35 days, where we have classes from Monday to Friday, every day for 1 hour each. Okay. And all of these classes are recorded. You'll be getting the recordings, you'll be getting this documentation, you'll be getting the presentation slides and the tools, everything inclusive in the course price of 10,000 rupees. Okay. For much more details regarding the course price, I would recommend you contact the institute. If you have any questions regarding the technical aspect of cybersecurity, you can let me know. Okay. So that concludes our demo for today, guys. Okay. Any questions or doubts up to this point? Anyone? Ashok, Shravani, Nagaraj, Nupur, Vibin.
No, sir. Thank you.
Right. So I think this link will be there for the next 2 days as well. Tomorrow, we're going to start the first class in the course, which is called Networking Fundamentals. Okay. We'll basically understand what networking is. Okay. What IP addresses are. Okay. Because that's a very important concept for the entire course. Okay. Understanding what IP addresses are, what IPv4 addresses are, what public IPs are, what private IPs are, what's the range of IP addresses, what are some important protocols. Okay. What is DNS protocol? What is DHCP protocol? We'll cover all that in the upcoming demos. Okay. So we are actually starting the course itself, but it will still act as a demo itself for this entire week. And from Monday, the link will change, and only again for people who have registered, only the link will be provided for those people. Okay. So the next 2 days are also demos, but we'll be taking the actual classes itself. Okay, which will act as demos. So please do join the sessions tomorrow and day after at the same time slot.
I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you questions.
Yeah, no, good.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, like, it's more of a logical and technical kind of a work. Is it going to be?
Definitely. So cyber security is one field where you definitely have to, it's not a monotonous job role, but definitely not monotonous. You won't be performing the same activity every day. You have multiple devices in your organization. It's your responsibility to see to it that all those devices are secure or their applications are secure. So you constantly test for vulnerabilities, look for vulnerabilities, perform scanning, and perform manual verification. So definitely a lot of logical and again different changing work applied every single day.
All the time you are just like sitting in front of the system, like.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very technical job role. Definitely, you will have to sit in front of a system. It's not like it's not more of a traveling kind of a job role. Definitely not.
Yeah, I understand you're not a traveling kind of a job, but I was just asking, like, I mean, what are the job profile and like scope of activities that um cyber
Uh,
professional.
to list out the scope of activities as mentioned, vulnerability scanning, vulnerability management, okay, vulnerability assessment, okay, system hardening. Those are the again the responsibilities. Okay, job role would be penetration tester or ethical hacker. Okay, as a penetration tester, it's your responsibility to see to it that all the devices are secure. That's what system hardening is, basically saying that there are no vulnerabilities or weaknesses which could lead to cyber threats. You're protecting the organization from all the cyber threats that are possible in the real world. Okay, so very technical, I would say, job role. Okay, and yeah,
I think that it's been quite long year. I have
sorry,
a
come again.
knowledge about data networking and also, like, since so long there is no like out of practices of all those terminologies and
No problem. Again, as mentioned, this course will cover everything from scratch. So I'm going to explain it to you as if you have no technical knowledge at all. Okay. So nothing to worry about that. All the things I explained from scratch. Again, it's not today, since it's a demo, I have to go through a lot of technical terminologies, which might seem a bit, again, unknown to you. But don't worry. As we start from the next session, it's going to be from scratch. I'm going to explain what networking is, what are devices, what are IP addresses from the level one. Okay, so it's going to be a very easy to understand course. I've had students enrolling in this right after their intermediate days as well. Okay, who have no technical knowledge at all, and they still excelled at it, in it. Okay, So it's all about your keen interest on cybersecurity and your interest to learn. Okay, that's all you need for this course. No technical knowledge required otherwise. Okay,
And so 35 days, is it a enough time? Actually, I
more
was
than
expecting like 2 months or
more
more.
than sufficient. No? But frankly speaking, there are institutes who are doing this in 15 days as well. There's something like fast track matches and all. That is too fast, I would say. 35 days is good amount, ample amount of time to complete the course.
And what about the job assistance and like how much salary we can expect
Again,
initially?
that is not handled by DurgaSoft, but I do have contacts in some organizations who keep giving me requirements. So as soon as there's a requirement posted to me, I share it to all the students from all the batches. So again, that's just my personal network. No, but DurgaSoft on their own does not provide any job assistance or consultancy services. I will although myself tell you how to build your resume, how to create an ATS friendly resume for cybersecurity, and whatever requirements I get from my network of all the cybersecurity circles, I provide that to the students. And again, as a fresher, if you're working it as a fresher, the job role is basically again as a pen tester in India, you're getting around 40 to 50K per month. Okay. If you're experienced, that goes. If you're a senior penetration tester, it goes up to 90K to 1.2 per month. Okay. So depends on the company, depends on your experience. Okay, where you're getting started. So there's a lot of factors involved there.
Okay, sir. Thank you
Right.
so much for all this information. As it is said, cybersecurity has a great career, and currently, I mean, it's
Definitely, there's a lack of proper cyber professionals. Okay. There are
yeah,
people who are just learning courses theoretically and just going out, but that is not what the companies are seeking. They want professionals who, again, as soon as they pass out from college, they want people who are well knowledgeable in these tools, and that's what the course is about. Again, what I've designed it in such a way where you're learning the same tools which I show again, which I'm using in my organization in real time. So no theory nonsense. Okay, unlike those Udemy theory courses. Okay. So it's all practical hands-on knowledge.
Um, Hi, I have some questions.
Hi,
This
Vibin.
is we've been here.
Hey, Vibin.
So after doing this particular whatever things you showed us, so which certification can we complete?
From the same name, the certification is called CEH itself, Certified Ethical Hacking V13. You can apply for the same certification actually. It's the same name. Okay. It's
Okay.
a 125 question certification exam, MCQ questions itself. And you have to get 75% of them right, at least one or two or one or three questions to pass the certification.
Okay. And nowadays, AI is implemented everywhere. So
Right.
even in the cybersecurity course, so are we going to use any of this AI related stuff?
Right. Good question. I forgot to include that basically. So even this course version 13, if you notice, is saying with added AI capabilities. Until now, the way or the extent up to which they have added AI is they have added a tool called Shell GPT. Basically, whatever operations you want to perform, if you've forgotten to use a tool or if you've forgotten how to run the tool properly or the syntax of the tool, you can write a prompt in the operating system and it gives you the exact syntax for that tool. Okay. Or the exact implementation process for that tool. Okay. That's how far they have implemented AI in cybersecurity as of yet. Okay. Not much of automation, but at least it assists you as a pen tester to run the tool in the correct way. So that is what it means by added AI capabilities. Okay.
Okay.
So
I see.
that will be included as
Yeah,
well.
I'm already experienced guy. So there are like in our company also they are using this all this vulnerability scan, and then we need to
Hmm.
remediate. I'm from a remediation team. Okay,
Okay. Right.
so so I just want to understand like see all these tools we need to keep on practicing, right? We need to do practical all we need to do as much practical to learn all this tool. So
Definitely.
what system are like we need for this to practice? Like what is the configuration we need to have?
Good
I,
question.
yeah.
Bare minimum configuration weapon, I would say at least an i3 processor because that is more than sufficient. If you have i5, much better. i5 or Ryzen 5, much better. Bare minimum is i3 or Ryzen 3 processor wise. Okay. And then RAM, at least 8 gigabits of RAM. Okay. Because you need to run something called virtual machines. You'll be running multiple operating systems. So 8 gigabits of RAM is minimum. If you have 12 or 16, much better. Recommended is 16. Okay. But bare minimum is 8 gigabits of RAM. Storage, 100 gigabyte of free storage on your device, 50 to 100 at least. Okay. Because we're going to install a lot of tools here. So those tools need some space to run and install. So 50 to 100 gigabytes of free storage. So again, if you have a laptop, I think those are the bare minimum configurations any device comes with today. So 8 gigs of RAM, 100 GB of storage, and i3 or Ryzen 3 processor. Recommended is i5 or Ryzen 5 for faster or smoother installations.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions, guys? Good questions. Okay. Assuming no questions, guys, it's going to be the same link for tomorrow and day after tomorrow as well. Please do join the demos. As mentioned, we're going to go with the next topic called networking fundamentals. It's one of the important prerequisites for cybersecurity. Okay. So it is, again, so the course is starting tomorrow itself, but it will be demo for the next 2 days. And for the registered students, the course is going to continue from next week, Monday. Okay. But it will be only for the registered students with a different link. Okay. So if you've liked the demo, please register already. Or if you want to, you can wait for the next 2 days and then register. It's your choice. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Nothing further. We can exit the session here. We'll connect back tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye. Good day.
So bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.